I'm going to go through the steps on how to use the Miller AR welding system. We're going to start by turning the machine on. To do that, in the top right corner of the control panel is the power button. Now the machine is probably already on when you go to use this, but just in case it's not, that's going to power up the system. Now it does take about 2 minutes for it to go through the complete startup cycle, and for this you just have to wait for it to finish going through everything and loading all of its systems. Now while the system's loading, I'm going to show you a few things down below. Underneath is where all the plates get stored, and depending on the project that you're going to be working on, that's where you're going to access the plates for it. Over on the right side is going to be the plates for doing a T-weld. Up in the fixture is going to be the lap and laying a bead plate, and then we've got the flat one for butt welds, and then we've got the circle for doing a pipe weld, and then we have the flange fitting one. Alright, now our system's up and running, ready to go. So it says a couple things. Right now it's looking for the network, and it's also saying that the system's ready. You're going to have two choices upon initial login. One is going to be guest, the other one is going to be admin. You are going to select guest, and if it's not already selected, you're going to do it by selecting the up or down arrows. I'm going to select OK. And now it gives us the choice of either right-handed or left-handed. You're going to select whichever option fits you. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to select OK. And now it's got a few choices depending on the project that you want to work on. We're going to be doing the auto welding project, so I need to arrow down to select auto welding project and then hit OK. At this point, it's asking me which level of the auto welding project do I want to do. If you are just using this machine for the first time, then you're going to go with the default setting, which is number 1, MIG bead on plate, and it tells you it's project level 1 when you look at the poster in the welding area, and you're going to need to use plate A. Now, the way you know which one is plate A, on the edges of all of the plates, I have them labeled. So I'm going to spin this over to the right side. When you look at the edge here, it says plate A, and then the rest of them are all labeled also depending on which one it is that you need to use. Now, if you had already done plate A, which is welding, it's simply welding a bead, then you could arrow down to the rest of the options depending on what level you are at. Level 2, level 3, or level 4. But we're just starting out, so I'm going to go back to start for level 1. I'm going to select OK. And now it's going to ask me a bunch of options. I've erased all of the other options except for the one that you need to use. So we are doing GMAW, and I'm going to select OK. We are doing a bead on the plate, and that's what the plate looks like that I just showed you. Select OK. And for the rest of these, just continue selecting OK. It's the only option available. And at this point, now it's showing me next, so I'm going to select OK again. And these are the different types of welds that we're going to do for this project. You're going to be doing 4 different passes. On the first pass, you're going to be doing 2 segments, and they're just short little segments. On the second pass, you're also going to do 2 short segments. On the third pass, you're going to do 1 long segment, and on the fourth pass, you're going to do 1 long segment. This is going to give you a chance to kind of build up and get used to the machine. Now that I know what's going on, I'm going to select Next by hitting OK. This is what it's going to look like, and these are all the settings that I have selected. Machine's going to load all of those into the system. And I need to fix a couple things here. If we look at the top, I've got 3 red squares. I need to eliminate those red squares, and I do that by changing the machine settings. Just like you would do in real life, we need to adjust those settings. And I'm going to do that using these controls down underneath the screen. So for the first one, this one is indicating my wire, my voltage, and it shows an arrow right here that indicates I need to increase the voltage. So down on the control panel where it says voltage, I'm going to increase that, and you can just hold it down. And you'll see there's a little arrow right there, and as that arrow gets smaller, you are getting close to your target voltage. And once the arrow goes away, you have it perfectly set. And if I look now, I can see my numbers, but my arrow is gone, so I perfectly set it. If I look to the right, I can still see an arrow there, so I need to fix this one, so we'll do that next. I need to increase my wire speed. And I increased it too much, so I'm going to back off a little bit. There it is. Now it's perfectly set. Red box is now gone. And I'm going to go to my third option, which is setting my gas, which is CFH, cubic feet hour. I'm going to increase that by selecting the button down at the bottom where it shows the gas. And now at this point, all three boxes are no longer red. I can see numbers in them, so I've properly set up my machine to be able to start welding. The next thing it says in this white box is that I need to calibrate the AR system. And the way I'm going to do that is by either pressing the AR button on the machine, or you can also press the button on the MIG gun. I'm going to use the button on the machine right here and press that. Now it says I need to face the helmet towards the workpiece. However, at this point, I haven't put my workpiece in the fixture, so let's do that next. Because I'm doing the first level, I'm going to need plate A. There's a little slot on the side. Slide that in. Same thing with the opposite side. And then gently clamp it in place. Now I need to grab the welding helmet and I need to aim it towards the workpiece. You can do this step with it on your head, or you can just hold it up. You can see on the screen that there's a red circle right there. That's one on the workpiece. This is the circle for my helmet. I need to hold the two together so the circle turns green, and now everything is calibrated. I'm going to make one change though. You'll notice as I look at my workpiece, it wants me to do an uphill weld, but I want to change this to do a downhill weld. The way I can do that is by switching my workpiece over. I'll gently clamp it in place, and now we're ready to start welding. You're going to take the helmet. The way you adjust the helmet is by twisting the knob on the back, make the helmet bigger or make the helmet smaller. Place the welding helmet on your head, and then tighten the knob until it's snug on your noggin. Pick up the MIG gun, and now I'm going to look at my workpiece. Now as I look at the workpiece, there's two indicators that I need to pay attention to. The first one is right here, these two parallel lines. They indicate if I'm too close to the workpiece or if I am too far away from the workpiece. So I'm going to get the MIG gun tip right there where the two lines are now green. The next thing I need to adjust is the red circle. Right now it's indicating that I need to tilt it to the left. Now my circles are green. If I went too far to the left, now it's going to tell me I need to rotate to the right. And I can, just like in real life, I can support the tip of the MIG gun using my hand. Now, my distance from the workpiece is perfect, and the angle of the gun is perfect. Pull the trigger. And you saw that blue dot. What I'm trying to do is follow the blue dot and keep even with that and keep the same pace with that. Now we're going to do the second welds. I'm going to go up to the top, get my distance set, rotate the tip of the gun. Now for my third weld, I'm going to start doing some things wrong, and you're going to tell me what it is I did wrong. Once you've finished welding, in the screen it's going to say weld complete. Press the cancel button. So you can go ahead and set down your welding gun. You're going to place the welding gun down here in this little bracket and just drape it over the bracket like that. You're also going to take your helmet and you're going to set your helmet up here on the table. Do not put your helmet up here on top like that, otherwise it will fall and that's very expensive. Please set it right on the table, and that'll make sure it's safe for the next person. Now we're going to take a closer look at the screen here. I'm going to press the cancel button down below, and that's going to bring me into my results menu. This is where you're going to get your score that you need to record on the sheet. So at the top it says view results. I'm going to select OK, and now it's going to bring up all my results. This is what you need to write down on the paper so that we can keep track of where you're at in the progress. Now the most important part is up here at the top. What was your score? In my case, I got a 63 because I didn't listen to the machine and I didn't keep my angles right and I did not keep my speed right. You need to get an 80% in order to pass the level and be able to move on to the next one. Down here is what my welds looked like. And you can see in the beginning, I started off really nicely, and then as I stopped listening to the machine, things got worse, and then absolutely terrible. That's what we want to avoid. We want to go in the opposite direction. We want you to start off possibly terrible and then continue to get better. Over here on the left side of the machine is where it's going to tell you everything you're doing right and wrong. As you can see, I didn't listen to the work angle very well, and the rest of these actually turned out pretty nice. Now that's because it's for pass 1 of 4. That was the first one I did. Let's take a look at the rest of these. I can look at 2, 3, and 4, and I can do that by using the arrows at the bottom. Let's jump to the very end. When we look at that one, my score was absolutely terrible. I got a 16% for speed because I went way too fast. I didn't go slow enough and follow the blue dot. That is why I ultimately ended up with a really bad score overall. So if you take your time and you listen to the machine and you adjust the angles of the MIG gun, you'll end up with a very good score, and when you go over to the real welder, you will also end up with a very nice weld. So at the end of the day, listen to the machine and follow the dots and follow the directions, and everything will turn out very nicely. All right, good luck welding.